showing kids that trans people exist is not going to turn cis kids trans. But a trans kid is going to feel seen and can be included. In Germany, you need like a therapist to like approve of you getting HRT. So an endocrinologist can like prescribe it to you. And it took me 3 years to find one who was willing to do just that. Not only do therapists have like extremely long wait lists and whatnot, and then you like drive there for like over an hour and then they tell you, I actually don't want to deal with that. Thanks, I just need someone who just gives me this piece of paper that I can hand to my endocrinologist because everything is ready there. I just needed the approval. It's really exhausting. And also proving you're trans enough to be approved. I'm glad I just pushed through it, but it feels like my entire life was on like a pause for like 3-4 years because I was dealing with like just getting started on HRT. For me, changing my legal name and my gender, I had to go to court. I had to go to like therapists and get like an evaluation of my case and to like prove that I'm like trans and I don't have like schizophrenia and whatnot. I had to reveal everything about my life and it was like incredibly exhausting. And it cost me like 2,000 euros. That dragged out for over half a year. If you're trans, you go through all these things. You face all these challenges and you push through. You have to prove that you're trans enough to like therapists, like endocrinologists. You go through all these challenges and then you go online and all you see is like hatred. You play games and you have like the trans banner like me, and people are just going to call you slurs and whatnot. You prove to so many people that you are who you say you are, that it's not because you're autistic, it's not because you're gay and homophobic and you don't want to be gay and whatnot, that it's not because you have like personality disorders. It's not all of these things. You prove to so many people that it's not that you're literally just a trans person and you want gender affirming care because that's the only thing that helps with gender dysphoria. And then people online and in your real life, they still make it so difficult. It's just random like peasants who have no idea what they're talking about. They think they know everything about you. They think that, oh, you're just kinky, it's just a fetish for you. And it's like you literally had to prove to your experts that that's not what it is. It's not some misogynistic feminization kink and whatnot. You're just a trans person. You're just not cis. And then people still make it so you have to prove to them that you're actually just a woman or that you're actually just a man. Like you have to prove yourself to just like strangers. And it's like, why? Why do I have to earn my she, her pronouns when there's not a single cis woman who ever had to just like work really hard just to be called she? Like I think if someone tells you these are my pronouns, you would just be like, yeah, okay. And if that's like some neo pronoun, some Sikh sim, something, and you're like, well, I don't really do that, just use someone's name. Like it's not that difficult. Just treat people as people and not as like a predatory species that's going to harm your children and whatnot. Because we trans people, we just want to live just like cis people do. We just want to get the same treatments that cis people have access to. We just want to be a part of society. And if a trans person does something bad, you can ostracize them, but you can't use them as like an example to ostracize an entire community. And the thing is like the people who do that, the people who are like, oh, all your trans people are predatory is because this one trans person 3 years ago actually did something predatory. You're the same people who are like, oh, but not all men. Oh, you women, you hate all men. Feminism is just about hating men, but it's not all men. You're the same people who do that. Anytime a man does something bad, you're in the comment section being like, not all men, not all men. And then anytime a person of color or like a gay person, trans person does anything, you LGBTQ people, you're all the same. When trans person does something and 1,000 cis people do something and the trans person is the outlier problem, yeah, exactly. What about per capita? It's one trans person and 150,000 pesos. But what is that per capita? As if that makes it better. It's so exhausting. I mean, trans people, we just wanna live. And then these people are like, well, if you would stay in the closet and you wouldn't talk about being trans, then you wouldn't face the harassment. And it's like, yeah, but like, I want to give people the education. I want to give people like me the education because I used to be in a similar position where I didn't know what was different about me. Did not know about transgender people and what it means until I was like 19. I never had a word to describe what I felt. Like I used to be in this position. That's why I do what I do. I know what it feels like to just like isolate yourself, to not have any joy. And especially as a kid. And then these people are like, leave the kids alone. Oh, if you didn't talk to children about these things, then nobody would come after your rights. Showing kids that trans people exist is not going to turn cis kids trans. But a trans kid is going to feel seen and can be included, and they know what to do to like help with like dysphoria and whatnot. 98% of like surgeries, gender affirming surgeries performed on minors are performed on cis boys with gynecomastia. Cis people will always have the privilege. We were the children, we needed trans people in our life. Yeah, exactly. And then you have like Disney cutting out trans storylines because it wouldn't do well in China. But you know who would need that storyline? A trans kid that had zero representation. Any children's book and whatnot, it was always just like cis straight people. They need that representation. They need to feel seen. They need to be able to like relate to a character. To be like, I feel like this one character in this children's book, this one character goes through the same things that I go through. It's so important. It's crucial. But they don't want this trans kid to have representation because they want that trans kid to grow up alone, to grow up scared, anxious, depressed, and feel hopeless, because then they can like pat themselves on the back because another one of those trans kids is finally gone. That's their agenda. They don't want us to have representation. They want us to feel like we are excluded from society. I've been there, and I lived my entire life having this burden, having nobody who related to it in my environment, having nobody who I could talk to about this, because you know what my representation was? I was watching sitcoms and they just made like a joke about like this one woman they want to date actually being a man. That's like in How I Met Your Mother, Friends, The Big Bang Theory, 2.5 Men, IT Crowd. My representation was just a joke. It was just a punchline. And I was sitting there and I was like under the impression that the worst thing that would happen to like a man who is dating a woman, to have them figure out that that woman used to be a man. That was my representation. And it sucks. It's so painful. No wonder I didn't want to talk to anyone about this. And to know that this wasn't just me. It's not me who's just going through this alone. The trans community is small, but we're still like a lot of people. A lot of people dealing with this. That's why trans education is so important. That people don't grow up just alone, just lost. It's like a trans kid, a trans teen is someone who they can turn to, who can help them out, who can make them understand themselves better. This is not indoctrination. This is not forcing your belief onto someone. This is just educating someone. And if they relate to it or not, nothing is forced upon them. If I say something and it resonates with others, that is not me planting a seed inside someone's head, making it grow to like turn them trans. I wish I wasn't trans. Giving someone the education is not manipulating children and whatnot. We're literally just telling our stories. We're just sharing our experiences. And we're telling other people that, hey, trans people exist. We've always existed. JK Rowling saying trans kids don't exist. I used to be a trans kid. You didn't know I was, though. Because I didn't have the education to say, like, tell me that what I'm dealing with is that I'm just trans. I don't have like a feminization kink. I don't have personality disorders. I haven't been indoctrinated by big pharma. I'm literally just a trans woman. And just because I didn't know how to talk with other people about it doesn't mean that I wasn't any less trans. You're literally saying that the moon didn't exist before we had a name for it. Pluto didn't exist until someone discovered it. No, Pluto was there all the fucking time. And this is the same for trans people.